The basics of the composition API should be clear now. But throughout this course, we haven't just learned about data and computed properties. We, for example, also learned about routing. And attached you find another starting project where I got a very simple application that uses routing set up for you. Now, if you load this application, this is what you got. You essentially got two main routes, all products and add product. Here you can, add a new product, and then you see it here. And we face a couple of problems or uncertainties here when using the composition API. For example, when I add a new product and I click add product, it would be great if I would automatically be redirected to all products. In addition, when I click view details here, I want to see the details for that product. And why is that complicated with the composition API, at least at the moment? Because we don't know how to get that data on this route, for example, because we don't know how to navigate programmatically. Without the composition API, we knew that there was this $router and this $route. So, for example, the product details page, it's loaded for /products and then this dynamic segment. Now, we learned in the routing module of this course that we can get the concrete value for this dynamic segment inside of the product details here with this $route object. The problem with the composition API is that there is no this keyword in the setup method. So how do we get our route parameters here then? Well, there are two ways of fixing this. For one, you can of course use an approach which I showed you in the routing module. You can configure this route such that the dynamic segment is passed as a prop into the to-be-loaded component, simply by adding this props option on the route config and setting it to true. Now the value for PID, product ID, will be provided as a prop in the product details component. And you know that we get props as a first argument here in the setup method. So now with that, we could then use inject to inject the products which I'm managing and providing here in app view into product details. So here we can get our products by calling inject products, injecting the provided products. And on our props, we'll get this PID prop, which holds the value of the dynamic segment in the URL. So here in product details, we can then get our selected product by reaching out to products, so the injected products, and finding the product where product.id is equal to props.pid. PID because that's the name I chose here in my route config. And then we can get the title, price, and description from that selected product. So we don't even need our refs here because I don't want to set up or change the data in here. I just want to extract it from the selected product. So we get title by selecting select product.title, and the same for the price. And of course, then also for the description, selected product.description. And now the only thing we gotta do is we have to ensure that the different product IDs are provided in the URL when we click view details. For that, in all products where this router link is set up, this should of course not be ID as a text. Instead, to should be dynamically bound to a string, for example, which starts with /products, but which then includes the ID of the product we're rendering here, and we get that from product.id here, just as I'm assigning the key here on the list item. And with that, I can click on view details, and I see nothing. A reason for that is that I got an error. Products find is not a function. We of course must not forget that products, which we inject here, is a ref here in AppView. And therefore, of course, when we want to access the concrete value in there, the array, we have to do this with the value property on products. And of course, we should also let view know about the props we're getting here. So add PID as a prop here. And with that, we can view the details, and this works. Now, what if we, for whatever reason, had a router link here in the details, which always leads to product 2. So where the link goes to products/P2, which is the ID of product 2. If I'm on the page of product 1 and I click this, this doesn't update. And we know this problem from earlier in the course. Now with the Options API, when we used props to get our product data, we watched our props data, our dynamic parameter value for changes. And we need to do something similar here. We could use a computed property, for example, to make selected product a computed property, a computed value. Like this. Now, of course, we then should also make sure that those other values, title, price, and description, update when we got a new selected product. And there are various ways of doing that. One way, definitely not the shortest one, but one way would be to now turn those into computed properties as well. Like that. And if we do this, we of course have to use .value here, since selected product is now a ref. It's a computed property after all. With that, if we save this, go to the first product and click product 2, now this updates. This is how we could do this with the composition API. But that was also just one way of getting our dynamic route parameter, by utilizing props.